We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
Swing of the miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup for the lead. Yes! Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
Well, good morning. It's episode 222 with Drunk on the Court, and Mark, we're on IG. You can find us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. Not on X because you know what? We just don't pay for it.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. But we're in here talking all things Sixers, man. It's been a minute. We gotta recap a little bit of the summer additions, go over the roster a little bit, talk a little Olympics. That was it's been a quietly busy summer.
Yeah, it has been. And I think like with I mean we've said on other shows, I think too, really, really productive summer for the Sixers. And capped off with Yabusele signing, hot off the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that was kind of surprising to me. I was excited to see that, especially because it sounded like there was some interest across the league there with him, and I think that the Olympics probably had a lot to do with that, like kind of upping that profile for him. If he was planning on coming back,
Right.
So
it really did give him a good platform.
Mhm.
If we want to start there, that he really had a chance on a team that had some stars, right? You got Wembanyama, and I think you saw a little glimpse of what you might start to see in the next coming years as he fills out, grows into his body. You're going to see a guy, I don't know, maybe a more athletic Kevin Durant-ish type player. You saw the athleticism, you saw the outside shooting from Wembanyama. You saw Rudy Gobert, his role started to fade a little bit based on what they thought they needed on the way that France was playing. But he just he was able to really kind of showcase his athleticism. And I think for a guy that's going to fill in a role, right, it's going to be a bench role, be that 4 guy coming off the bench. He's athletic as hell. He's physical, not scared of anybody. You saw the one picture that kind of went wild with the him kind of posterizing LeBron.
Yeah.
It's an all win, no lose. It's not a long contract. It's not a lot of money. It's a win-win for us.
Yeah. I'm usually under the impression too, really in any sport, like there's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal, offer the guy the year. If it works out, you might stumble upon something that can really help you. If it doesn't, it's only a year, and you can kind of, usually those are the easiest deals to digest for teams if you want to move on or just, part ways, whatever the case may be.
Sure.
France also came away with the silver medal. And I think too, like, I mean, there was something about just the games in general at the Olympics, the basketball games, and just it's never really kind of lost on me. You mentioned Wimbayana and stuff like that. Like now, where basketball's become so global. Like there's so many great players just across the entire across the world,
Mhm.
now. And um I think there's probably a more likelihood today than there used to be that you could stumble upon a player like Yabusele who goes to the Euro League. Maybe he was drafted here, but he goes to the Euro League, um, kind of carves himself out a role. And if you're kind of doing your due diligence like internationally, you may find, you know what I mean? Like you may discover somebody who maybe slipped through the cracks or maybe was
Right.
a late bloomer or whatever the case may be. Um, so I'm excited about it. I mean, it's like I think he'll be a part of the rotation here, and until he's not, until something changes. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, and I mean, like the LeBron poster was something. I mean, that was
That was kind of wild.
yeah, it was, and just like you know, uh, you just you don't see that. You don't see like even at his advanced age now, you just don't see LeBron get dunked on like that. And
I mean, and that's a whole separate, you know, entity in itself, like
right,
the LeBron conversation, because a guy that gets a lot of hate for, I don't know why, just because he's at the top, probably
mhm,
is my guess, right? Like,
yeah,
but like when you talk about the competition of guys that played, you know, in these Olympics, in this particular Olympics, I'm just looking it up right now. 81 current or former NBA guys competed in this Paris Olympics,
wow, yeah,
right? And that's compared to even just 4 years. So 4 years ago at the Tokyo Games, it was 65.
hmm,
So and I'm only venturing to guess. The further I go back, right, the more that you're going to see. I think that when that original Dream Team played, there was like I think they played. There were like 12 guys
yeah,
that had either had NBA experience. It was a really small number. So when you talk about how that game grows globally, and you look at how competitive these games are, right? The game against South Sudan in the lead up, right, where it takes every second to kind of eke out that win, you
yeah,
know, in the prelims leading up to the Olympics. Um, and then you look at the game against Serbia, where you know and B kind of shined in that game.
yeah,
Um, and you look at the way that they had to win. You know that game going down the stretch in that gold medal game was probably between that Serbia game and that gold medal game against France, probably two of the best basketball games I've watched in a really, really long time.
yeah, yeah. They were, and yeah, it's just like it. You mentioned like the dream team and all, because I think we kind of use that as like from that point on, like looking at how the games kind of changed,
Right.
and it's just kind of like yeah, I mean, like it's no longer like it doesn't feel like this is just a cakewalk to gold anymore. Like that, you could see a team like France who's had not just Wembanyama, but that they had a strong. I think there was a couple kids I think in this draft that were French, and
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, like
The kid that got I don't remember his name. The kid that got drafted by the Wizards.
yeah, yeah. I can't remember his name either, and if I did, I'd probably butcher it. I don't remember how to pronounce it. Yeah. We got prepared for the show, and I was looking at Ubusle's name, and I have the like Google Translate up, and I'm just like trying to to spell it out and all because I mean he's going to be here, so I gotta figure it out. But you know, yeah, so I think yeah, I mean the game is just it's great. It's great for basketball. I mean
Yeah.
to see the game kind of evolve that way and um, you know USA, the it's still, watching them all come together. If you like hoops, if you like basketball, watching, Team USA kind of put that roster together, I think is always a lot of fun. Every 4 years they put that team together, and it's really the best of the best. And watch the guys come together and the experience they gain from it. I think that'll be great for guys like Ant Edwards and some
Yeah.
of those younger players that were a part of it. So
Yeah, I mean, when you look at some of the guys that were on this roster, you obviously see that there were guys that were literally just this was the one time they were going to play, and you know the torch passing that happened in this Olympics when you see you guys the guys like Devin Booker, you see guys like Anthony Edwards, like you see that transition of those young guys, and you see them highlighted throughout the league, right? You
mhm.
see you've seen those guys take a kind of a leap forward. Um, if I had to guess, right, like 4 years from now, Joel Embiid's not going to be on that roster, just because of age and wear and tear and where he's going to be in his career.
Right.
So that's going to be a one-time thing. But it is Anthony Davis, um, the saged veteran is got guys like Bam Adebayo. Like I got to imagine for this when this game comes around in 2028 in LA, they're going to have that roster is going to look a lot different, and it's going to be based on guys that are coming up. They're the guy that I think of like right away is like the kid that just started at Duke, Cooper Flag, like a
Mhm.
kid like that like where's he going to be 4 years from now?
Right.
3-4 years from now, he's going to be at Duke for 1 year. He's
Right.
going to get drafted, so he'll be a 3-year NBA experience guy by the time is that a guy? Because you saw how that young, athletic, long wing. You see that's where this game is going, especially in that Olympics realm, where you look at where those guys are going and where the game is going. As the game expands, the role of the big man and
Mhm.
then the post up guy is really you saw Embiid struggle early to try to figure out what his role was going to be. And it wasn't until that one game against Serbia where he really kind of just took over in that fourth quarter. It's just
Yeah.
wild to see. And LeBron being able to get that Olympic medal, right, to add to the roster of things. Like I'm looking at, so StatMuse put out, got to go back to StatMuse a little bit because we haven't been there in a minute, but like, right. And they had to break this down by decades, right? So in the 2000s, he was a 5-time All-Star, 5-time NBA, Rookie of the Year, MVP, All Defense, won a gold and a bronze medal. That's just in the 2000s,
Yeah.
right? In the 2010s, he's a 10-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, 3-time MVP, 3-time Finals MVP. He's a 4-time All-Defense, and he wins a gold medal. In
Yeah.
the 2020s, he's a 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, Finals MVP, and a gold medal.
Yeah.
Like you could make the case, and they say it in the tweet here. He's had 3 separate Hall of Fame careers, even if you just took one of those decades worth of stats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like he's a guy, and the hate. I don't get the hate for LeBron only because he doesn't do any, like he's not making headlines off the court. He's not, his name is not involved in anything scandalous. He has like a really great relationship with his family and his kids. Like he gets a lot of hate and catches a lot of shrapnel for maybe pseudo trying to be the GM sometimes and
Yeah.
but I mean, dude is probably going to go down as the best player of this generation, right? Because you got MJ passes the torch to Kobe, and Kobe passes the torch to MJ, and to LeBron, and
Mhm.
you know, I don't know. I loved what I loved about this Olympics, specifically with the basketball, is that you saw the best of the best compete at the highest levels,
Yeah.
right? When you see, and like, to be able to be a fan of Steph Curry, right, and to cheer for him and realize like what those Warriors fans felt throughout
Right.
the runs, and just watching him just like with no energy exerted at all, literally just take over the game and
Yeah.
just like just with a series of possessions, just put a team away.
Yeah. Yeah. The LeBron thing is just incredible
Swap.
when like like I remember too, it's like I remember when the hype was beginning, like
Mhm.
for someone my age, like I caught the back end of Jordan's career,
Right.
so I didn't see him, like I didn't see Jordan when he was Jordan, but um LeBron, that hype all throughout, finishing high school, jumping to the pros, looking at what this was going to look like. I mean, we have never seen an athlete on a basketball court like this.
No.
And, um, truly one of the all time greats. I think you have to have him in your, if not the best player of all time, at least in your top 3 to 5. I mean, like and, and then as you mentioned about, guys like watching guys like Curry and things like that. Here's another player that kind of like, and they only come along, they're rarefied air. They come along every so often, but like a guy like Curry kind of revolutionized, you know, there are now guys in the game who step across half court and they're in range. Like you have to start defending them,
Yeah, I mean,
because
listen, look at Maxi, right?
yeah,
Maxi's
yeah,
like prime example. That one particular play I can't remember what game it is in that Knicks series where he brings the ball up. He took 2 steps inside half court,
yeah,
raised up, and it was not like a Hail Mary shot. Like, it was a regular within his range shot.
yeah,
And Steph Curry literally created that extension of the court
yeah,
that, like, which in turn opened up plays for his teammates, because the defense has got to pick him up half court so they can't sag back. So that
right,
opens up areas for his teammates to play. Like, I just, and I look at how that team, you could see how they kind of just rallied around the stars, right? They
mhm,
rallied around Kevin Durant, they rallied around LeBron and Steph, and you know, it was cool to see that team come together. And it was cool to see how those guys kind of all played off of each other,
mhm,
and all kind of saw their roles, and, and tried to look at what they do well. And it's
yeah.
nice to see where they do well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a good thing too. Like, when the guys come together for these games, like there's usually like everybody's able to kind of put ego aside. They're all
Mhm.
able to kind of come together, and like it gives you like when you hear throughout the league when things like guys get put together, if the basketball fit isn't there, and
Right.
it's like people are like, well, it doesn't work, or these guys don't get along, or this guy doesn't feel like he gets the rock enough, or whatever the case is. Every 4 years, the best players in the sport come together to play on the same team, and it's just like one of those things where you would think that would be a little bit easier, like in the NBA season, where you could kind of put guys together and it could work. Um,
Right.
and I don't know if it's just because you're then like no longer competing against each other, you're now teammates or what it is, but it's always fun to kind of see them come together that way. And now like as we you mentioned about the roster kind of changing and overturning, like in for the next Olympic Games. I would
Mhm.
imagine that Team USA would be a lot younger um, the next time, and
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
and I'm glad you bring that up because like I think when you look at this next core of kids that are going to come through, right? You got to imagine that France is going to be coming for you at
Yeah,
baseline, right? You came and took it on their country's home court. I got to imagine there's a little bit of retribution, knowing that these games are going to be in the U.S. They're gonna spend the next 4 years trying to figure out how do we return a favor, and I think what I'm looking at, like when I look at and Daniel Schiff put out projected kind of like who he thought might be in that neighborhood. And there's a lot of talent here. Don't get me wrong. I'm curious to see where the NBA is in 4 years because I know that this group of guys will definitely change. But I got to imagine you got to find some balance between youth and athleticism and veteran talent, right? Because the vets kind of showed everybody the ropes and figured out like those were guys that had been at the Olympics before, had been able to kind of know the ropes of what to expect. So right now, the projected roster that he's got out there, right? He's got Maxey as a point guard, Devin Booker as a shooting guard. He's got Anthony Edwards, Tatum, and he's got Paolo Banchero.
Okay.
Right. So I like the fact that you're going to keep guys like Anthony Edwards and Devin Booker and Jason Tatum, right? Jason Tatum caught a lot of crap this summer for the time that he wasn't getting.
Yeah.
I think there's only one ball. It's a numbers crunch. And you can only put 5 guys out there, right? So
Right.
you're gonna have the rest of those guys that my favorite part about the whole Olympics was the post gold medal Tyrese Halliburton tweet. Did you see that?
No.
So he's got a picture of himself with the gold medal, and the caption was something like, when he didn't do nothing in the group project, but you still got an A. And I was like, what great levity, right?
Yeah.
Like, realize where you are, realize that like the guys that are around you, but also have a little fun with it. Like,
Right.
you did
Yeah.
get to experience the Olympics. You are walking away with a gold medal, but like you also acknowledge the fact that like you really didn't play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
like
love him.
that he's got a great personality. He's
Yeah.
a great young athletic guy. Like I loved the levity and the perspective on that.
Yeah.
But on the bench in this projected roster, right? You've got Cade Cunningham, you've got De'Aaron Fox, you got Halliburton, you got Jaren Jackson, Chet Holmgren, you got Zion Williamson, which I'm like, Zion's a guy I'm like, on.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a big year for him.
yeah, you got Jared Duran, Cooper Flagg, Walker Kessler, like I'm looking at this roster going, I think I need more. I might need more vet. Like I might need an old guy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really
Like
young roster.
it's a really young roster. Now listen,
Yeah.
we're also talking about them now, right? 4 years from now, we
Right.
could be looking at a very, very different NBA, right?
Yeah.
Where a lot of the guys that are playing now have retired. A lot of those guys, like you could see Jason Tatum stepping into a new role. You could see, you know, where Anthony Edwards' game has gone in the last couple of years and where it could be in the next 4 years. Right? Are we talking about him as a perennial MVP guy? Like, I love the idea of Maxey on this roster, though, and
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, is there a guy that you're thinking of that they didn't mention?
No, I mean, like that's pretty. I'm with you on the Zion thing, just because I feel like that's projecting out. If he can
Yeah.
get back to like if this year he can get back to where he was,
Mhm.
um, pre whatever injuries and whatever else was going on with him. Uh, if you can get back to that, I think he's like a pretty like easy guy to have on there because just the
Yeah.
athleticism and things like that. But you're expecting him to kind of get back to a level that he hasn't gotten back to yet. Um, Paulo being on that roster, I mean, I remember hearing this year, like people were saying like they thought he was going to make it this games, and
Yeah.
so um, he's another one. I mean, like the magic and kind of like how
Hmm.
they got a good young team, and he's kind of the epicenter of that with Wagner and some other guys. Um, so I'm trying to think if there's somebody else, and I can't really think of, you know,
It's so much projection, right?
yeah,
So much of like trying to figure out like some of these guys are good now, but could kind of fizzle out in the next 4 years and be replaced by a guy that we never like. I guarantee you, there's a guy that we never saw coming that just kind of like elevates his game beyond. But I think you're looking at the thing that I think is missing from that roster is that like old guy. I
yeah,
need like I need besides Anthony, like right, like I know Anthony Edwards is going to have experience. I know Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton. I know those guys are going to have that. They're going to be the guys that have been to the Olympics before.
right,
But are we talking about guys that like the grizzled vet is the guy that like that's the guy that you need on the roster to be
mhm,
able to kind of build around. And I'm
right,
like that they need somebody to kind of like come in and show them the ropes the way that, you know, maybe the way that like LeBron did and Steph did for this roster.
I as you were saying that, I thought about maybe. I mean, I know the guards are pretty legit, like and Tyrese and all, but I think in terms of like like a veteran guy, like 4 years out, provided he can continue to play at a high level.
Mhm.
Um, and like I said, this is kind of like guard heavy, but maybe like a Jalen Brunson for
Oh, okay.
I don't. He just popped in my head as we were talking
Yeah, I mean, listen,
about that, but
he was able to kind of elevate his game,
yeah,
this year. And who knows where he'll be. And that the way that the Knicks have kind of built that roster around him with adding, you know what? Now that you're mentioning the Knicks, like a Bridges.
yeah, yeah,
Bridges is a guy that like he's been in the league a bunch of years. Is he a guy that like takes his game to a completely new level? He's going to have the elevated stage of playing in the Garden, 40
yep,
whatever times a year. Maybe Bridges is a guy that we're not talking about now that kind of projects 4 years out that
yeah,
could be on that stage.
yeah, for sure. I could totally see
Now,
that.
so listen, before we jump out, the way that Daryl Morey has built this roster. Let's talk about this roster, this Sixers roster before we jump out of here.
Mhm.
Really, really impressed. I mean, we kind of didn't know. We knew that there were going to be a lot of options. We knew that they were going to have a lot of cap room to be able to that was the plan, right?
Right.
Create as much cap space. Man, we have really rebuilt this roster, right? And you look at you're going to have two new starters, right? You're going to the projected depth chart starting lineup, courtesy of the four-letter network is you got Maxi and Oubre, you got Paul George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid. Probably you could say the best starting five that Joel Embiid has played with in his career.
Yeah, I think these guys are really, really good fits uh, for like building around, our like high end pieces, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I thought Kelly was a great addition last year. I'm glad he's back.
Oh yeah,
Um, Caleb Martin's a really good player. He comes from that. He comes from that heat culture element. He has the, you know, uh, he's really going to help them on the wing, I think.
yeah.
And then of course Paul George being the PG being the big piece. I
Mm-hmm.
would agree with that. I totally think that this is the this is like the ideal roster to get the most out of, you know, uh, having them around Joel rather. This is
Yeah.
the best probably fit for him. Um, and yeah, I even love like they went out and got Reggie Jackson. You know,
Yeah.
like
I don't think anyone would argue there's not a whole lot of flexibility with the starting five, right?
no,
Because but when you look about the depth, right? When you're talking about the depth and the bench is significantly better than anything that you've ever had. When you talk
mm,
about, bringing back Andre Drummond, you bring in, you've got KJ Martin, you've got Eric Gordon, you got Kyle Lowry, you got Reggie Jackson, you got, but then you also balance that with, you bring in a young kid. Now, listen, you win in the playoffs with vets, but like Jared McCain is a guy that like it showed flashes over the summer, is young and athletic, and has the ability to be able to maybe come in those. You're going to see him in short spurts, but like the bench is also probably the best that has ever been around Joel Embiid.
yeah. And as we're running through guys, I mean, I'm like forgetting, like, oh yeah, like he's here. Like Drummond's
Mm-hmm.
here. For example, and he's still, he's still a rock solid player. Like he's one of those guys too. Like and there's a handful of guys like that in the league, like Drummond,
Oh yeah,
where they can get like they're a walking double double, and it's just like is a double double what it used to be? It's not, but those
at the
guys
same
play a long time. You know
at
what
the
I
same
mean?
time though, like you look at, that Embiid's not going to play every game.
Mm,
You know that there's Andre Drummond is the serviceable guy that you can plug in, and you're not going to get the drop off that you had with the myriad of the cast of characters that have that they've tried to fill in. And you look at that stretch in the middle of the year last year when Embiid goes out in that game against the Warriors, and the stretch of games that follows, and they just looked like a lost puppy, just kind of like
yeah,
nobody knew what to do. And now
yeah,
I don't, the other piece that we haven't touched on, but having that next guy in Paul George, it allows, like, if you slot Andre Drummond into that starting five, that's still an NBA caliber starting five when you look at Andre Drummond, Caleb Martin, Paul George, Kelly Oubre, and Tyrese Maxey.
yep, yep,
The drop off isn't nearly as much as it's been in the last couple of years.
yeah, and that's a great point, Don. Like, if you can still plug somebody in and like somewhat, you can't replace Joel. It's not that, but it's if you can still somewhat run your offense even with him out,
Mm.
that's you have a huge advantage. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
You have a huge advantage because then you can kind of shift maybe like it's not like in that instance, if Joel goes out, you're not going to have, PG and Tyrese. They're not going to be any like less ball dominant at that point. You know what I mean? Like they're going to get the ball
Sure.
more. And, and that's a good place to be, but you still have that guy in the paint that can, he can pull down 8, 9, 10 rebounds and, and,
Yeah.
and give you 10 points, with not being the vocal point um, of the offense
Hmm.
like Joel would be if he were there. But having that with I really, really like, I mean, I didn't anticipate Morey keeping the first round pick this year, but I love that he did. And I love McCann and the potential there. So,
Yeah.
or yeah, it's like, it was like the
You
best of
were
both
gonna,
worlds.
based on where they've invested their money, you're gonna need somebody to be able to kind of balance out the roster, right? So
Right.
where
Right.
we thought they might trade that pick and add vets, they've just added vets, right?
Right.
And they still kept the pick, and they still realized that there's a balance in the roster between young guys, vets, and guys that have significant NBA experience, right? When you bring in a guy like, that you sign PG and an hour later he's on the phone with Reggie Jackson saying, like, hop on, like, let's
Yeah.
go. And he's
Yeah.
like, I'm in. Right. The ability to be able to have that and to have him play, have Paul George play next to Joel Embiid is going to open up stuff for Embiid
Hmm. Yeah.
because you can't double both of them. Because
Right.
if you double both of them, then you're going to leave Maxey with enough space to be able to create. That one move, right? It's the move that should have been made 4 years ago
Right.
when you signed Tobias Harris. And I think what you're going to get out of Paul George is everything we thought we were going to get out of Tobias Harris.
Right.
A guy that is an athletic wing that creates space, that is able to kind of move the ball around and also be that 1A next to Embiid, next to Maxey, that you were able to get
Yeah.
that experience.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He's going to be the first 2 years of this deal will be critical. I mean,
mhm.
if he can continue to be the guy that he's been in the league and he's healthy, I have no doubts about the Sixers being title contenders. You know,
Yeah,
so
I hear you. Well, listen, we're going to jump out of here, but don't go anywhere because we're just literally going to play an intro outro, and then we're going to be talking Flyers on the back end. We'll cut the commercials for anybody who catches it on the podcast, but if you're sticking here with us live, you're just going to get Flyers hockey on the back end of this. So give us a second. We'll jump out of here, and we'll be talking all things Flyers on the back end.
Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup! The Flyers win the Stanley Cup!
Oh, look at us. We're back. Drunk on Ice, talking all things Flyers. Hey, and listen, it's been an exciting offseason considering we've kind of fast tracked everything that we thought we might see in the next couple years. The idea that Mitchkov is here, he's essentially gallivanting all over the U.S. You either see the social media pictures of him in Colorado, the connecting with nature, to see him in the Flyers, in the gear,
yeah,
in the hot, like just enthralled with, and honestly, super excited to be able to put on the number 39 jersey that's got his name on it. It's just it's an exciting time to be around this team
yeah,
because the
yeah,
arrow is significantly pointing up.
yeah. I mean, it's been they need this, man. They need this. Like they need
Oh,
the guy to kind of. He's gonna. I mean, I don't want to throw too much of the expectation on as we get closer to camp here. I think he might be playing in the rookie series. The Flyers have a rookie series up in Lehigh Valley with the Rangers.
I was
I
just about
think
to
he
say
may be
on
playing in that.
the September, so Friday, September 13th and
Mhm.
Saturday, September 14th, at the PPL Center in Lehigh Valley. The Flyers are going to take Flyers rookies, Rangers rookies. Tickets go on sale Monday. They went on sale Monday, August 19th. But that's the fact that you might be able to get a glimpse of him early
Mhm.
is really exciting.
Yeah, it is, and having him play and knowing that he's here, and like we talk about expectations and things like that. You know, I think it's completely fine. You know, for people to have like these high expectations for this kid. have him come in here and like expect him to be great, because
Yeah.
he's been really great at every level he's played at
Right.
prior to this, and he's been playing against men over in Russia. So it's like
Yeah. Let's not forget that this kid is 19.
he's 19, yeah,
He is a
and
teenager. Like the fact that like when they came over, it was a big deal that they were able to have an opportunity to set him up with his brother and his mom.
yeah,
Like, like let's not forget that. Like this kid is 19 and has played at an elite level since he's put on the skates. And the fact that like now he's going to be essentially the poster child of this franchise for hopefully what is the next 15 to 20 years, is just exciting.
yeah,
And the whole lead up to getting him, and like the idea of like Briere and Jones driving up the turnpike to meet him at the airport in New York, and like walking through the airport carrying his sticks,
yeah.
with the orange Phillies hat. Like it just, they could not have pandered a whole lot more. It was they had me at hello.
Yeah, yeah. The thing about Matevy Michkov too, that people talked about even his draft year, where it was like, this is like a kid that has like no shortage of confidence in his ability and
No.
things like that. And you heard that when he spoke, and he's talking. I mean, like, the Flyers haven't been in that stratosphere in a while, right? But it's like he's up there talking about, bringing a Stanley Cup back to Philadelphia and things like that. Like, when you're 19 years old and and you've never even been to North America, let alone played hockey here, and you're talking about Stanley Cup this, Stanley Cup that, when I do this, like, I mean, that sounds like somebody who's pretty, like, that's someone who's pretty confident in his ability to, like, up the level of the franchise just because I'm here. You know what I mean? And that's something they haven't had in a long, long time. And um,
The
I can't.
awareness and how dialed in he is.
Yeah, like, and it's just like he's that confident in his own ability that, he don't even know who he's gonna play with yet, right? He hasn't even met teammates, and he's up there he's up there on the podium saying, "Oh yeah, like, I'm here to win a Stanley Cup." And it's like he's ready to go. And I think people really fall in love with that. Um, that drive and ambition that he has. I think people really love him for that, especially if he's out there producing, you
Yeah,
know.
listen, all you got to do, like, play hard. If you produce, good lord, this fan base is ready. This fan base is ready to just fall in love. Like they're that.
Yeah.
What's the equivalent, Mark? Like they're the kid at college who's just drunk and just like look at, like, they got googly eyes for every girl that walks by. Like they're just ready, and they're
Yeah.
just ready for like someone to like pay attention to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
now we're in, and
I
like I
think she
think
likes me, dude. I think she
right,
likes
I think right, like that's kind of where we are with this franchise. Like
Yeah.
we are just kind of ready for everybody to, and I think you got little taste of that last year, with the feeling a little bit ahead of schedule, and feeling like you had the ability to be able to kind of almost make the playoffs last year was like,
Mhm.
I think the fact that they fell short kind of was like, it sucked, but like wasn't the end of the world. It was better than what we thought. Like last
Right.
year had no expectations. Now we're kind of in a position where we're looking at this team going, okay, like we could, like I could see if we're in the mix again to make the playoffs, and we're kind of sniffing around that. I'm in. I'm good. That the fact that you could have playoff hockey this coming season is
Yeah.
enough for me. I'm good. And I think they've done a decent job over the summer building the roster back up. They've had a couple of strange things happen though over the summer with some roster stuff. Talk to me about So you've got the most recent situation with Ryan Johansson, and then you have the situation with the goalie. Talk to me about those two guys.
Yeah, the Kolosov thing, Alexei Kolosov, Flyers prospect, goalie prospect. Um, you know, it's a weird thing because it's like a story without really being a story yet. Like we don't know anything until camp starts, right? Like
Right.
all the rumor and innuendo. And I'm not doubting any of these reports from any of these reporters that have said it because um, a lot of them are very good reporters, good hockey reporters. Tony
Mhm.
Andrakis covers the AHL. I think he's most recently been out there saying like, "Hey, this kid isn't coming. The Flyers are preparing for life without him," and things like that.
Right.
I don't doubt any of those reports. I do wonder, if like with Kolosov, he was here last year. During the Phantoms playoff run, he didn't really play. It comes out over this summer that he wasn't particularly happy here and
Yeah.
that he doesn't want to come back. That's all. Like the Flyers are saying they don't know. The Flyers have said they don't know that they didn't, they're expecting him to be at camp. Briere had just been
Yeah.
on a podcast saying a Nasty Knuckles podcast with Derek Seidelmeyer and Riley Cote's show.
Right.
He was saying like, they anticipate him to be there. I believe for that rookie roster, that rookie game series thing with the Rangers, he's on the roster.
Right.
Like he's
Right.
listed.
And the quote that I found from Danny Briere, it says if he wants to play hockey, he has to come over here. He's not allowed to play anywhere else. We want him here.
Mhm.
And in our mind, he's got to report like that. I think this is kind of the situation where I feel like you got to wrap your arms around this kid. And I think
Mhm.
maybe like this is just me sitting in my spare bedroom talking to a friend about hockey, but like, can he go live with Matt Mishkov? Right?
He
Like,
should.
can they just be roommates together?
Yeah.
Just sit there and like listen to Russian music and talk in Russian and just hang out and have his mom make like home cooked Russian like
Dishes.
borscht. Like can we just get him to hang I know that they don't have a lot of veteran Russian guys, but like can he hang out with like a Russian kid who's his age?
Yeah.
And maybe that makes a difference. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like yeah, this is the kind of thing where like I don't like he's a young kid, right? He's playing in Lehigh Valley. But I think the idea to make it known that like we want him here. Like this is not like we're not trying to force you to be here, but like you're contracted to play.
Mhm.
You're not going to go play anywhere else. We're not letting you out of your contract, but like we also want you here at the same time.
Right. And, the thing is, I think with uh that as well, I understand Briere's stance on that. 100%. The kid
Hmm.
signed the contract. He's contractually obligated to be here.
Right.
Um, and the in our minds he has to report thing. It's like, well, I mean, he can just not get on the plane and not report. You know what I mean? Like, I know you're
Also true.
saying, like I know he's saying like, oh, we're expecting him to be here, but according to him, there's been minimal contact. If that were true, like I can't imagine, you know. And then of course there's like a rumor out there regarding him that he's like working out with the previous uh KHL team he played for. And there's like a report out there that he's like asking them to, hey, can you get me out of this? I don't want to go back. So there's like that's out there as well. And I mean, I guess we'll just find out when camp starts
Right.
if he's there or not, and then we'll know. I mean, I would imagine people are going
It's
to ask
true.
about it.
Right.
But it's a messy thing. I he's a good young goalie. I think regardless of the other things that were out there, I think it's a lot about playing time for him. I think he probably looks at the Flyers goaltending situation and he saw another Russian goalie in Fedotov, get an opportunity that maybe he felt like he deserved. And then he's in
Yeah.
Lehigh Valley, and he didn't get a chance really to play. He sat behind Cal Peterson. He did play a little bit, but you know, in that case, I can see the kid's point. If he's not happy here, you're in a foreign place, and you're also like not doing the one thing that you feel like you've been brought there to do. It just kind of like, I could see that all being something that can be frustrating. But as you said, Don, I mean, like, the communication's the key, and the Flyers should be kind of trying to, like, you know, work something out with him, or at least
Right.
try to find out where this is all coming from. And maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I don't really know, but I hope that they are.
Yeah, no, I listen. You want it to work out, right? You
Yeah,
don't want it to be
absolutely.
contentious. You don't want the kid. You're not going to get the best play out of a player if you're kind of holding them hostage. Like if you're forcing them to be here, like yeah, that is not going to be a productive situation. We know just from life, like doing something against your own will is not. You're not going to get the most productive version out of somebody. So
That's
like
never fun.
right on any level.
Yeah.
But I hope that there's a way to figure it out. I hope that there's a
Mhm.
way to kind of make it work for everybody. But
Yeah. Yeah.
talk to me about Ryan Johansson, right? Because that kind of came
Oh, geez.
a little bit out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Like you have right the on August 20th they place Ryan Johansson on unconditional waivers for the purpose of terminating his contract due to a material breach. The
Mm.
Flyers have no further comment at this time.
Oh, God. I just, it's always something,
Mhm.
with this friggin' team. I can't. It's just,
I mean, you're not wrong.
I like it. I know at the trade deadline, if you go all the way back there, because I think that all has a part of it. You go back to the trade deadline, they acquire Ryan Johansson with the first round pick. The Flyers had to take the contract from Colorado to get the first rounder back. Because there was salary cap obstacles there. They take him back. It's not really about the player. They didn't want. I would imagine they would take the first round pick without taking back the player.
Mhm.
But to make the money work, they do. Ryan Johansson, apparently, I mean, according to Beats in Colorado, did not get along with his teammates in Colorado. He comes here. He had a very pretentious relationship with John Tortorella in his stop in Columbus when Torts was in Columbus
Right.
coaching him. Apparently, they had a strife. Johansson wanted to allegedly mend that bridge. Hey, I would like to play in the NHL. I'm willing to play for him again. At least that's what has been out there.
Right.
Flyers end up sending him to Lehigh Valley. He doesn't report, says he has an injury that magically appeared. He had played a couple days before he was even traded. Now he's got this
Right.
this debilitating thing that he can't play, which I'm not trying to say that that's not true. I don't know. And hockey players get beat up all the time. He could have been playing through something and just decided to say something about it now. Like,
Right.
I don't know. But it seems kind of fishy when you get traded. They say, "Hey, you're not playing on the NHL team. We're waiving your contract. You have to report to Lehigh Valley." He's like, "Well, I ain't going to Lehigh Valley. I got this injury, and I don't really feel like going down there and humping the buses and playing in the minors."
Right.
So now that's kind of like, it leaves us where we are. He never reported to Lehigh Valley, never reported to the Phantoms, never played for them, and so now there's like this material breach thing here, which in my really simplistic view and understanding of that is that the Flyers are saying that he faked an injury to I guess like not have to go to Lehigh Valley or whatever the case was. Now there's going to be a grievance filed on his part because I guess he feels like he was unfairly terminated or not objectively terminated. I guess that's the view of it.
Right.
And he has 60 days, I think they said. I think Elliot Freeman had reported that he has 60 days to file his grievance. And I guess then the players union would go to bat
Gets
for
involved,
him
right?
on his behalf. But it sounds like there's going to be like litigation and things like that, and there's going to be lawyers involved, and the Flyers may end up at the end of the day getting some kind of like cap relief from this,
Gotcha.
but I don't know if they're going to get the full relief for it. But yeah, this thing is just that this is wild, like that
Just
this even happened.
just messy.
Yeah,
Just
it's
messy.
really really messy.
Just messy. Listen, the last two things I want to talk about, right? So I want to talk to you about the tweet that you put out with the idea of pairing Cam York and Jamie Drysdale on the blue line. Really excited about that. Talk to me about the prospect of that.
Yeah, I mean, I had thought about that, as I normally do. I mean, like we do this show, which is great therapy for me. I kind of get all my thoughts
Right.
out there. But in between our shows and in between like my writing and when I do water cooler talk, I mean, I'm never not thinking about this stuff. I probably should think about it less. Maybe I'd be more productive in other areas.
I'm sure our wives would appreciate that, right?
Yeah, I'm sure
Our
they would.
significant others would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're married. I'm getting married. You've been
Yeah.
married, but
Listen, we're all in the same boat. Let's just be honest.
so
It's just that when that date that just solidifies everything that's already happening.
yeah. So I was thinking about it, and I was kind of like thinking about the roster and things like that, and I'm like, I don't think that a lot of people like the idea of pairing the two together, Drysdale and York. But when you look at their numbers and things like that, these guys are really, really great, like great players
Yeah.
at coming back and retrieving pucks and moving pucks. And when I think
Mhm.
about like what I want in a modern day NHL, in a modern day NHL defenseman, like moving the puck, getting the puck up to the forwards efficiently and quickly is the number one. It's the number one ability I think you need to have today. Like
Right.
you can't not like even the players that are kind of more stay-at-home type defensemen today and things like that, even them, they have to make a good first pass. They got to be able to skate a little bit because the league's so skating driven today. And when I think about Cam and Jamie, they're two of the best puck retrieval defensemen the Flyers have. If you were to put them on a pair, like I just feel like you could never dump the puck in. Like you would have to skate it in every
Yeah.
time because
Mhm.
if you were to dump it in, they're just going to beat you back to below the dots and they're going to move the puck out. And the Flyers are going to be going transition the other way. It's
Right.
just
And
kind of
then
like
how does that change the dynamic of the game
right.
when you have to apply that? Yeah. I'm with
Yeah.
you.
And I understand like there were some people that like had commented on, a lot of people agreed, some didn't. They thought, the pair would be a little too small. And if they were to get trapped in the D zone that they would be in trouble there. I don't know, like that's a fair question. I think that's definitely something that could be an issue or a downside of them being a pair. But puck possession's king, and I want,
Mhm.
I it's just kind of like a simple like it's a simple kind of like philosophy in that like the more you have the puck, the greater likelihood there is that you could score a goal. And
And listen, when you're pairing those guys with the frontline guys, with guys like Matvei Michkov and Owen Tippett and Travis Konechny and Sean Couturier, right? Like
mhm,
when you're able to secure the puck and get it to those guys, the more that those guys have the opportunity to be able to score,
yeah,
right? So it helps kind of on both fronts.
right.
So Mark, I need the 2-minute. Who are you pairing Matvei Michkov with?
Okay. I think right now I would go I think I'd have him Sean Couturier is the center and Owen Tippett on his other wing. I think
I
that
like
would
it.
be the two guys. Mitch Koff, for the one thing that we all love in the offensive wisdom tree and all those things that we love about him, not great away from the puck. He's still a work in progress in that regard. I think putting him
Listen, you
together
can't be great at everything,
can't be great at everything,
and not
but
at 19.
no. And I think Sean Couturier, the two-way prowess, be his savviness in all three zones, I think would be a good thing. It would kind of it would alleviate some of the defensive pressure, I
Mhm.
think, on Michkov, and I think pairing him with Couturier could be a good thing for that, to kind of alleviate some of that. And then I think having him with a shoot first player like Tippett, I think he could really I think of Tippett as a pretty good goal scorer already, but I think
Right.
he could become a great goal scorer playing with a player like Matvey Michkov, because Matvey could get him the puck in areas that he just hasn't been able to get the puck in, and we know
Right.
that Owen can finish plays off. So
Well,
I
listen,
would give it
he
a
had
try.
essentially the goal of the year last year. That
Yeah,
spinorama from the, what would it have been, the left dot,
yeah,
just kind of like spin around, fling it, like just was just wild to
yeah,
see. But excited about where this franchise is going, and where it could be. Listen, I'm sure that the Ramos report is going to be out on Monday. It's going to be hot off the press with the funeral that is the Phillies, and you know the you got the last pre. It's very busy. You
yeah,
got you got the Phillies going on tonight. You got the Flyers. They're off season. They're going with their stuff. The Sixers kind of the Phillies, but you got the Birds with a preseason game today.
yep,
You got the Phillies playing tonight. You got the Union playing tonight. You got college football, right? You turn on at noon. You can see Notre Dame and Florida State live from Dublin. You
yeah.
got what is week 0?
Week
I
0.
don't know what that means, but like whatever. They're playing college football from
Yeah.
now. You ready for this, Mark? From now until February,
Yes.
there will not be a weekend without football.
Yes.
We've made it. We're
Yes,
back.
we have.
So listen, on the way out, Mark, go Flyers.
Go Flyers. Peace.